Session number 4. When we talk about exposure, attention, and perception, those are also factors which actually influence the psychological core of a customer. When we talk about exposure and attention and perception, we have to understand what is necessary to reach the consumer. Look closely to this advertising. Here you have a blue sky, you have a plane, and you have the 3 words economy, economist, and Forbes. While looking at this ad, consumers start to process information. By selecting certain stimuli which stand out of the ad, for instance the plane, the blue sky, and the 3 words Forbes, economist, and economy, the consumer starts to interpret. The advertiser is trying to compare the brands apparently. Economy class is cheaper, business is more expensive, and the first class is the most expensive class. By comparing those classes with the brand name Forbes and Economist, the consumer actually starts to believe that Forbes is for the most upmarket passengers. But what about the Economist? After having this belief, the consumer starts his attitude, favorable or unfavorable towards the attitude, or towards Forbes and the Economist. And last but not least, information processing at work, it actually means the consumer may or not buy the magazine. It's your choice. Exposure to this ad means the process by which the consumer comes in a physical contact with the stimuli. There are millions of stimuli surrounding us, and we have to select some of those stimuli and eliminate others. This selection is actually the way of eliminating stimuli. Please use, therefore, your senses. We have to divide between semantic and visual stimuli. Visual images or pictures tend to be more memorable than their verbal counterparts, especially when there is low involvement on the part of the consumer. Verbal material is better recalled in high involvement conditions. Words that have high imagery content are easier to encode and retrieve than words low in imaginary and concreteness. Words and pictures should be used to complete each other in ads. Look closer to those visual ads. Here we are talking about so-called visual stimuli, which actually are exposed to the consumer. Here we are having a combination of semantic and visual stimuli. If you want to concentrate more on your senses, eyes, the sight, and ears, listening, please watch the video of Harley-Davidson. This is an ad which actually is quite interesting, talking about feelings, talking about values. Harley-Davidson is actually presenting to his consumers. When we talk about attention, we actually force the customer to look at a message. Attention is selective. We attend to stimuli that we find interesting and relevant. We tune out stimuli that we found boring and irrelevant. Advertisers have to come up with ways of getting consumers to pay more attention. If we want to actually attract more attention of the consumers, there are different possibilities to attract and attire attention. Either the advertisement is self-relevant, has a movement, shows a certain position, shows isolation, a special format, pleasantness, surprisingness, contrast, information quality, interestingness, or ease of processing. A very good example shown by Dove is the following video. Please watch and decide what are the determinants of attention.
So, very quiet please, camera
Stimuli which actually also attract attention are color, movement, and position. The brighter the colors, for instance, are, the likely they get more attention. People have preferences for colors. Movement. Attention to moving object is evolutionary adaptive. And position, placement relative to the viewer's visual field. Objects closer to center are more likely to be seen. Right-hand ads tend to receive more attention than those at the left side. Isolation and format also gain attention. Fewer competing stimuli, as being in isolated advertisements, and use of white space. Also, the format can actually gain attention. The way a message is organized, or simpler layouts tend to get more attention. Less effort required. Also, contrast and expectation can gain attention. More attention given to a stimulus which does not blend in to the background, or stimuli with unexpected content tend to receive more attention. The so-called adaptation level theory, where actually stimuli will eventually be less unexpected based on prior experience. Look at the following ads and compare the different stimuli which actually can attract the attention of you being a potential consumer. The following slides are stories about exposure, attention, and attraction. Please read them. Last but not least, we have to think in psychological core about the perception. What kind of message actually the customer takes? Interpretation means perception. Stimuli are assigned to meanings, often highly culturally influenced based on expected expectations. Cognitive interpretation and categorization. Categories as a way to simplify the world, and prototypes and perfect examples.